Have you ever loved someone so deeply you shaped yourself into whatever they thought they needed? Have you ever believed that perfection could protect you from pain? Have you ever hidden your real face so completely that even the person you vowed to spend your life with never saw you, not once? And have you ever realized, at the moment truth finally surfaced, that some people don't fall in love with who you are, they fall in love with the mask you built to survive? Welcome to True Crime's Altar. If you're listening, you already know this is where illusions dissolve, where secrets rot in the light, and where love, when mixed with fear, turns deadly. Before we begin, I need you to understand one thing. This story didn't start on a wedding night. It didn't start with a gunshot. It started decades before, in childhood wounds neither of them ever healed. In July 1997, in the sweltering heat of Dayton, Ohio, Nia Roberts came into the world without fanfare. There were no gasps, no excited whispers, no proud declarations about her beauty. Those belonged to her older sister, Tala. The child nurses couldn't stop staring at. Tala's dimples, her perfect curls, her angelic smile. Everyone remarked she was destined to be stunning. For Nia, the comments were softer. Obligatory. Polite. She's sweet, they said. She looks gentle. She'll grow into herself. But Nia understood before she could even write her name, beauty opened doors, and she didn't have the key. She grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment above a nail salon, where the smell of acrylic powder and acetone seeped into the walls. Her mother worked double shifts. Her father was barely around. But even in a crowded home, she felt invisible. At school, teachers called Paula promising. Boys passed her love notes. Girls wanted to be her friend. Meanwhile, Nia learned to take the family photos, not appear in them. By 10, she stopped looking in mirrors for too long. By 12, she obsessed over the faces society worshipped. Faces that seemed impossibly symmetrical, glowing, effortless. She studied them like a textbook. Not just the beauty, but the attention that beauty brought. Adoration, praise, validation. All the things she'd never had. At 13, she bought her first makeup palette with babysitting money. The eyeshadow was chalky, the foundation too orange, the blush messy. But for the first time, she saw a different version of herself. A version that looked closer to what people celebrated. A version that didn't make her feel like the shadow standing next to Tala's spotlight. Makeup became her lifeline, her shield, her identity. By high school, she perfected the art of transformation, contouring, highlighting, altering her face until even she barely recognized the bare version beneath. A few years later, money she didn't have paid for nose refinements, jawline sculpting, lip correction, procedures she hid from everyone, even her family. She built herself into the woman she wished she had been born as. But inside, she was still the girl who learned she wasn't enough unless she changed. Meanwhile, in Cincinnati, in October 2000, another life was breaking open. 12-year-old Jeremiah Cole watched his father collapse mid-sentence at the dinner table, the plate of food still warm in front of him. One moment he was laughing, the next he was gone. No warning. No reason, no time to prepare. That single moment rewrote his entire existence. The chaotic grief that followed, the frantic paramedics, the screaming, the helplessness, etched itself into him. He became terrified of unpredictability, terrified of loss, terrified of anything he couldn't control. He developed routines like armor, folded clothes with military precision, color-coded notebooks, planned his days down to the minute, prepared for every possible outcome. He believed deeply, fiercely, that if he could control enough, nothing catastrophic would ever blindside him again. He grew into a man who chose stability above all else. A well-paying insurance job, a rigid schedule, a meticulously organized apartment. And when it came to relationships, he avoided women who didn't fit neatly into his vision of a calm, polished life. He told himself he wanted someone put together. What he really wanted was someone who made him feel safe from chaos. In August, 2018, fate, or something like it, brought them into the same room. Jeremiah had stopped at a gym near downtown Cincinnati after work. Nia was there too, not to work out, but to capture photos for her growing beauty page. Full glam, perfect lighting, curated angles. She was the most polished woman in the building, a real-life portrait of the type he believed would stabilize his world. He saw her first. Her contour, her flawless finish, her sculpted jawline. The perfection she had built over years of insecurity. For a man whose trauma demanded order, she looked like a dream. She caught him staring, and for the first time in her life, instead of shrinking, she felt powerful, desired, seen. Their conversation was short at first. An introduction, a compliment, a laugh.
But something clicked. They met again 2 days later, then again after that, and soon they were texting constantly. They bonded over childhood pain they didn't fully explain. Jeremiah liked her discipline, her immaculate presentation. Nia liked his stability, the safety she imagined he carried. He thought she was everything he ever wanted, beautiful, composed, predictable. She thought he was the first man who might love her enough to stay. She never let him see her without makeup. Ever. Not during naps, not during overnight dates, not during vacations, not even when she was sick. It wasn't vanity. It was fear. Fear that if he saw the real her, he'd see why she'd been overlooked all her life. Jeremiah, meanwhile, took her appearance as proof she was the perfect partner he'd always envisioned. He praised her beauty obsessively, posted photos of them online, showed her off like a trophy he'd earned through discipline and good choices. Within 8 months, he proposed, first with a modest ring, then a larger one after refinancing his car, because the life he built had to look right. And in every photo and video, Nia appeared flawless, ethereal, untouchable. But behind that perfection was a woman terrified she would never be enough without it. And behind his admiration was a man clinging to the illusion that she could never disappoint him. Their story began with longing, with hunger, with wounds shaped in childhood. But it would end the moment water touched her skin. Because the night her real face returned, the illusion they both depended on died, and something far darker took its place. In March 2019, their engagement season unfolded like a carefully curated slideshow. Sunset photos, coordinated outfits, candlelit dinners, and a version of Nia who never cracked, never slipped, never allowed the mask to shift even an inch. Jeremiah loved it that way. He loved how polished she was, how flawless she appeared in every frame, and how she made him feel like his life had finally aligned into something stable, predictable, enviable. What he didn't know was that every picture came with a price. Hours of preparation, layers of makeup thick enough to hide all traces of her real face, and the constant fear that one wrong move could expose everything. Nia's closest friend, Lori, saw the cracks forming. She noticed how Nia panicked whenever plans changed suddenly. She noticed how she refused to swim during a summer trip, how she never let anyone touch her face, how she slept with makeup pads under her pillow just in case. Lori tried to ask if everything was okay, but Nia brushed her off with a practiced smile. She couldn't afford to break character, not after climbing so far from the forgotten girl in Dayton. Jeremiah's mother sensed something too. On a Sunday in June 2019, she pulled her son aside after dinner and said gently, "She's beautiful, yes, but does she let you see her, really see her?" Jeremiah laughed it off, dismissing the question as old-fashioned suspicion. He believed he knew his fiancée better than anyone. He believed the woman he saw was the truth. By early 2020, their wedding plans were in full motion, and Nia began to crumble under the pressure in ways Jeremiah couldn't understand. She spent money she didn't have on new procedures, jaw fillers, lip adjustments, skin tightening, anything to perfect the image she believed Jeremiah needed. She told herself it wasn't vanity, it was survival. Because the more he praised her appearance, the more tightly she clung to the illusion. She couldn't let him see the girl beneath the glam. not when she had fought so hard to bury her. Jeremiah noticed her anxiety, but misread it completely. He believed she was stressed about wedding details, not about the possibility of being unmasked. So he tightened his routines, planned every detail with precision, and treated her worry like something he could organize away. He didn't see the truth. Every compliment he gave her sharpened her fear. Every "you're perfect" carved deeper into the lie. In December 2020, Jeremiah caught a glimpse of something he couldn't explain. It was nearly midnight, and he woke thirsty. When he passed the bathroom, he saw light under the door and Nia's silhouette inside. She had set up her small ring light and was reapplying makeup, thick layers, precise lines, even though she had already removed it all before bed. He didn't question it then. He simply kissed her forehead and went back to sleep. But something lodged itself quietly in his mind, like the first drop of water finding a crack. Nia grew more careful, more rehearsed, more afraid. Wedding invitations went out in early 2021, and with every RSVP, Nia's chest tightened further. She dreaded the honeymoon. She dreaded the idea of waking up beside a husband who would expect to see her real face. And she dreaded the possibility that once he saw it, he would finally understand why she had always lived in Tala's shadow. Meanwhile, Jeremiah was certain he had chosen right. He saw Nia as the woman who stabilized his world, the reward after years of controlling every unpredictable part of life. When friends told him marriage revealed hidden truths, he brushed it off confidently. He said, "There won't be surprises. I know who she is." He didn't. In May 2021, 1 month before the wedding, a storm began to build between them. It started small, Jeremiah wanting more spontaneous outings, Nia refusing. Jeremiah reaching for her cheek, Nia flinching. Jeremiah joking about seeing her fresh-faced, and Nia laughing but freezing inside. He chalked it up to stress. She prayed he wouldn't look deeper.
A week before the wedding, Lori begged her to tell the truth. "He deserves to know who he's marrying," she whispered. But the thought of Jeremiah seeing the girl beneath the makeup made Nia sick with fear. She pictured his disappointment, his confusion, his rejection. She pictured losing the only man who had ever made her feel chosen. So she hardened her resolve, convinced herself she would tell him, just not yet. On August 14th, 2021, the eve of the wedding, Nia didn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table with her makeup spread out before her, touching products like they were armor she wasn't ready to remove. Jeremiah slept peacefully, unaware that the woman beside him was unraveling silently. She looked at him and wondered if he would still love her if he knew everything she'd altered, everything she'd hidden. The answer terrified her. The wedding took place on August 15th beneath soft lights and warm winds. Guests whispered about how beautiful she looked. Jeremiah couldn't stop staring. He held her like she was the culmination of every painful chapter his life had ever written. Nia smiled for the cameras, smiled for Jeremiah, smiled for the world. But inside, she felt like she was standing on a trap door. That night, after the reception ended and they arrived at the hotel suite overlooking the river, Nia made a decision. A fragile, trembling decision born from exhaustion and longing. She was his wife now. Maybe she could finally stop hiding. Maybe she could finally breathe. She kissed him softly and said she needed a shower. She stepped into the water, hot, pulsing, relentless. The makeup she had worn so tightly began to melt. Mascara streaked. Foundation washed down the drain in dull beige swirls. Contour lines faded. The sculpted face dissolved. Under the steam, under the water, under the hours of transformation, the real Nia emerged, bare, soft, vulnerable. For the first time in years, she saw herself, and for the first time in their relationship, so would he, because Jeremiah, still dressed, still glowing from the night, walked toward the bathroom door to tell his new bride he ordered room service. And when he opened that door, the illusion shattered. The moment Jeremiah stepped into the doorway, time seemed to split in half. The steam curled around him like a veil, and for a second, he didn't understand what he was looking at. Nia turned slowly, her hair plastered to her scalp, mascara streaked under her eyes, foundation completely gone. Her real face, soft, unsculpted, untouched, was fully exposed under the harsh hotel lights.
He froze. A man who controlled everything suddenly had no script, no expectation, no framework for what he saw. Naya's heart dropped into her stomach. A trembling hand rose instinctively to cover her face, but it was too late. The moment was already carved in stone. "Jeremiah, I can explain," she whispered, voice cracking with fear. He blinked, stepped back, then forward again as if trying to align two images that wouldn't merge. His breath stuttered, confusion twisted into disbelief, and disbelief into something darker, something triggered deep within the boy who once watched his world collapse without warning. "What is this?" he said, barely audible. "It's still me," she pleaded. "It's still me, baby. I want it to look good for you. I've always..." "This isn't you," he snapped, the first sharp edge breaking through. His chest rose and fell rapidly. "Naya, who is this?" His tone gutted her. She stepped out of the shower slowly, water dripping down her shoulders, her hands shaking uncontrollably. I was going to tell you, I swear. I didn't know how. I didn't want you to think I wasn't enough." He shook his head, pacing, running his hands through his hair. "You lied to me," he whispered. "All this time, all these years, you lied." Her throat tightened. "I didn't lie. I hid things. I was scared. I thought if I showed you everything, you wouldn't want me." He stopped pacing, turned sharply, "And you were right." The words slammed into her harder than any fist could. Jeremiah's hands trembled, first from shock, then from anger that simmered under the surface like a pot about to boil over. He stared at her like she was a stranger, as if the 2 years they had spent together had been an elaborate trick. Naya wrapped a towel around herself, her voice trembling. "Jeremiah, please listen. I've never felt beautiful. Not once, not as a child, not as a teenager. I had surgeries. I had insecurity. I had reasons. Stop talking." He said it so coldly she flinched. "I built my life around what we had. I told my mother you were perfect. I told my friends you were everything I ever wanted. I defended you. I supported you. And all this time, I didn't even know who you were." "I'm right here," she cried, stepping toward him, reaching for his arm. He pulled away as if burned. "You were supposed to be the one thing in my life I could trust," he muttered, more to himself than to her. "The one thing that didn't change. Everything else," his voice cracked, "everything falls apart, everything." Her tears streamed down her real cheeks, cheeks he had never seen before. "Baby, please," she tried to touch him again, and this time he recoiled so violently she staggered. Jeremiah walked out of the bathroom, breathing hard like someone suffocating. He grabbed his wallet, paced the room, opened and closed drawers with shaking hands. The sound of his distress echoed off the walls. Naya wrapped the towel tighter, following him slowly. I didn't trick you," she whispered. I just wanted to be the woman you deserved." He didn't respond. He didn't look at her. He just stood there, hands shaking, staring at the floor. After a long silence, he said, "I need air." And he walked out. The hotel door shut with a finality that made Naya's knees buckle. For 40 minutes, she sat on the edge of the bed, trembling, replaying everything, every moment, every compliment, every fear. Every time she hid her real face under layers of foundation and hope. She prayed he would come back calmer. She prayed he would listen. She prayed love would be enough. But downstairs, Jeremiah wasn't calming down. He paced the lobby, then the parking lot, breathing in short, sharp bursts. The betrayal twisted inside him, turning into something volatile. His mind spiraled, memories clashing, his father collapsing, the loss he couldn't control, the chaos he spent his life trying to escape. He couldn't stop imagining the photos he had posted, the admiration he'd received, the pride he had felt, the certainty that he had chosen perfectly. And now he felt mocked, made a fool of, deceived in the most intimate way. He walked to his car, opened the trunk, and lifted a small black case, the one he always kept just for protection.
the one he never thought he'd open on his wedding night. His hands shook as he unlatched it. He didn't think clearly. He didn't breathe steadily. He didn't slow down. He grabbed the gun, loaded it with mechanical precision because control was all he had left, and walked back toward the hotel with a terrifying calm settling over him. Upstairs, Naya was still sitting on the bed, wearing nothing but a towel and regret, rehearsing the apology she planned to give when he returned. She didn't know he was already in the elevator. She didn't know he was holding a loaded gun. She didn't know something in him had already snapped. She didn't know her life would end before sunrise. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, the kind that should have felt harmless on a wedding night. Jeremiah stepped out slowly, gripping the gun inside his jacket pocket, eyes unfocused, breathing steady in that eerie way a storm sometimes goes quiet right before it destroys everything. The hallway was empty. Room 726 waited at the far end, warm light spilling from the bottom of the door. Naya's shadow faintly visible inside, pacing now, unaware of the danger moving toward her with each silent step. Inside, she had rehearsed everything she planned to say. The apology, the explanation, the plea for understanding. She had redone her makeup slightly, not full glam, just enough to soften her bare features, hoping he would see the girl behind the mask, not the insecurities she had carried all her life. When she heard the keycard click, her heart lifted with relief. He's calm now, she told herself. He'll understand. He'll love me even like this. The door opened. Jeremiah stepped inside, but didn't close it gently. He slammed it behind him hard enough to shake the frame. Naya's smile dropped instantly. Something in his eyes wasn't familiar. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was vacancy. Jeremiah, can we talk? She whispered. He didn't answer. He took 2 steps forward, his jaw clenched so tight the muscle twitched. You lied to me, he said, his voice terrifyingly calm. She shook her head in desperation. No, I was scared. I didn't lie. I just didn't think. You didn't think about me. You didn't think about the life I built for us, the life I promised would never fall apart again. She placed a gentle hand over her heart. Baby, look at me. I'm still the woman you love. He lifted the gun. Her breath caught in her throat. Jeremiah, she whispered, stepping back, hands raised. Please, please don't do this. I love you. I swear I love you. You're not the woman I married. Yes, I am, she screamed, tears streaming down her face. I'm just not perfect. I only wanted to be enough. His eyes twitched. A single tear, one he didn't seem to feel, slid down his cheek as he said, I can't love a lie. No, Jeremiah, listen to me. The first shot hit her shoulder. She spun, collapsed to her knees. The second hit her rib cage. The third tore through her side. By the 7th, she couldn't lift her hands anymore. By the 10th, she lay motionless on the hotel carpet, eyes half open, lips trembling as if trying to form a final word that never came. Jeremiah stood over her, chest heaving, gun shaking in his hand as silence settled around him like ash. He dropped the weapon. It clattered beside her body. The sound echoed louder than the shots had. Within minutes, hotel guests screamed, alarms sounded, and officers stormed the floor. Jeremiah didn't resist. He sat on the bed,
his hands stained red, staring blankly at the woman he had claimed to love more than anything. When officers cuffed him, he muttered the same sentence over and over, like a broken chant. She wasn't who I thought she was. She wasn't who I thought she was. In the police car, he didn't cry, he didn't argue, he didn't ask about bail or lawyers or rights. He only looked at his reflection in the window and whispered, "I just wanted something perfect." It took the jury 43 minutes to convict him. Life in prison. No possibility of parole. Naya was buried in Dayton, beside the sister she had spent years comparing herself to. Only a handful of people knew the truth. How all she ever wanted was to feel seen, chosen, loved for who she was underneath the mask she had crafted so carefully. And Jeremiah?
He woke up every morning with the same realization. He hadn't killed a lie. He had killed a broken girl who never believed she deserved love without perfection. Two damaged people collided, each hiding wounds the other never bothered to understand. And in the end, both became victims of an illusion neither could escape. If you made it to the end of this heartbreaking story, thank you for watching True Crimes Alter. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Jeremiah was driven by betrayal or by his own psychological scars? Did Nia owe him the truth sooner, or was she simply trying to survive? Could this tragedy have been prevented? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And before you go, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring you more real stories, more deep dives, and more truths that the world often overlooks. See you in the next one.